Let me tell you something. If you'd told me a few years ago that a pile of dirt and rocks on a forgotten hillside in Colorado would become the one place I'd be willing to fight for with everything I had, I'd have laughed you out of the bar. But you spend enough nights hauling stone and pouring concrete with your own hands when every muscle aches and you're nursing splinters, you'll never get out. That patch of earth starts to mean a whole lot more than just property. It becomes yours. Not just because your name's on a deed, but because your blood, your sweat, and maybe a little of your stubbornness seeped down into the soil. That's how it was for me. That's how all this started. I'd bought those 10 acres on a sloping patch of nowhere view to the west, legal as can be won it at a county auction when some big-shot developer went bust, and the land went back to public sale. I was there the day the bid closed, shivering in a cheap motel with a busted heater, back-braced pain pills untouched, watching the auction end on a borrowed laptop. 20 years on the Denver Fire Department, trust me. I'd seen enough burnt-out houses and lives in pieces to want something of my own. After my last warehouse fire, collapsing beam crushed vertebrae, 2 surgeries. Well, the job was done with me. I walked out with a plaque, a handshake, and a compensation check that was supposed to be my second chance. So no family, no obligations, just me in this wild stretch of Colorado that GPS still can't find half the time. First time I walked the boundary line, it was just me and the wind through dead aspens. No paved road, just a trail that'd wreck your shocks if you weren't careful. Set up a tent, then a tool shed, then a slab. I'll be honest, sometimes I think the coyote scat and rusted-out pipe were my good luck charms. I cleared the slope, dug trenches for the utilities, spent a back-breaking weekend pouring concrete with a rented mixer and an old Springsteen album in my headphones. When my back finally gave out, I crawled into the van with a bourbon and slept like I'd earned it. Every board, every nail, every stone, I put most of it in myself. Raised the walls, wired the place, built the fireplace from river rocks I hauled up in a wheelbarrow. Hired a crew when I had to, roofing some of the heavy stuff, but mostly it was me. And you know what? I liked it. Liked that nobody else was around. I'd live out of a trailer cook on a camp stove, watch the sun go down, and listen to the forest wake up at night. Every so often I'd spot a tire track at the bottom of the hill, maybe hunters or off-roaders, but nobody came close. Then one late spring morning, as I'm finishing drywall and cursing the humidity, this dark gray SUV rolls up to my gate. Whispering Ridge, HOA, gold block letters on the door. 3 of them pile out. Clipboards. Reflective vests, faces like they're here to repo my dreams. The lead one, bleach blonde bob, sunglasses too big for her face, says, "Are you the owner?" I said I better be. Name's Roy, and you are Karen O'Brien, president of the Whispering Ridge Homeowners Association. We need to discuss your construction. Construction. I just about laughed. Lady, I bought this from the county. There was nothing here but rocks and coyote scat. I'm not in your HOA. I'm not even in a neighborhood. She gives me a look like I'm a stubborn kid. This parcel falls under our jurisdiction. Your building, your fence, your grading, it's all non-compliant. The guy with her starts snapping pictures. The other woman's pecking away on a tablet. Karen says, "You'll receive formal notice. Cease all work until further review." They get in the SUV and drive off, dust flying like a warning shot. Sure enough, that evening I find a letter duct taped to my gate. Demolish unauthorized dwelling within 30 days or face fines $500 per day. I laughed so hard I nearly tossed it in the fire pit. These folks had no clue who they were dealing with. I spent that night wide awake, not scared, hell no, but mentally drafting my counterattack. I've pulled people out of burning warehouses. You think I'm worried about some clipboards? Next morning, I spread out my deed auction certificate, parcel maps, and property transfer like I was about to play poker for my life. Scanned everything, sent a cease and desist to the HOA's P.O. box. CC'd the county recorder building department, even the sheriff for good measure. I wanted them to know I'm not rolling over. I called the county and got a guy named Derek Voice like he was allergic to his job. I read him my parcel number and asked if this Whispering Ridge had any business with my land. Long pause, then, "Nope, you're outside their boundaries." Sent me an official GIS overlay to prove it. I started thinking I was done with these clowns. Then a county inspector named Tom showed up, mid-40s, built like he'd seen too many donuts, clipboard in hand. Complaint about unauthorized construction, HOA oversight. I exhaled. Let me guess. Whispering Ridge. He shrugged. Can I look around? I asked for a warrant. He didn't have one. We sat at the picnic table and I showed him every document. You're clean, he said, but get a lawyer just in case. Already had one in mind. Not even 24 hours later, a new letter arrives from a fancy Denver law firm, no less. It accuses me of violating community standards, waves around a blurry map with my parcel outlined in crayon, tells me to demolish my house or face legal action. No seal, no coordinates, just a circle over a hillside like a kid's art project. That's when I called Caitlin Johnson, property attorney out of Colorado Springs. She hears my story and goes, classic boundary fraud. Let me dig. I install cameras, change locks, and start photographing every suspicious vehicle. I wasn't scared, I was pissed. These people weren't just making my life miserable, they were trying to erase me with a pen and a forged map. I printed a new sign for my gate private property. Trespassers prosecuted. Bring a warrant. P.S. I built this house. I'll tear yours down first. Caitlin sends a letter to the HOA's lawyer, all legalese and threats of sanctions if they don't back off. I thought maybe it would stop there. But no, these folks weren't done. County planning shows up again, orange vests, cameras stapling a giant red placard to my gate. Stop work. Unauthorized structure. A yellow sticker underneath pending investigation. I called Caitlin fuming. They slapped a stop work order on me. What the hell? She's already digging. Turns out the HOA filed a revised boundary map with the county, slipped it in through a loophole, suddenly claiming my parcel was inside their turf. A lost map from 1996 filed through the back door. My deed predates the revision by 2 years, but the system doesn't care. County just looks at the latest document. Caitlin brings in an old geodetic tech, Elmer, who lives for this stuff. He overlays the new map and finds every telltale sign of a Photoshop job font, mismatches, shaky digital overlays, county seal cropped from somewhere else. We've got them, she says, but now we need to go hire DA's office, maybe the state AG. I start welding extra brackets on the gate wiring alarms. I'm not paranoid, just learned the hard way that when the system's broken, you better look out for yourself. And then came the night I'll never forget. 2 a.m, strange noise, low and heavy. I grab my flashlight boots half on and step out into the darkness, only to spot a bulldozer on a flatbed at my gate pickup truck with no plates, half a dozen people in reflective vests, bolt cutters and clipboards. There's Karen barking orders, telling them to start with the fence, then the house. I called the sheriff right then, told them I had an active trespass, attempted demolition, no permit, and a pending injunction. Deputies said they'd be there in 25 minutes. I cut the floodlights, making the place go dark except for their own work lamps. When I stepped out, flashlight aimed, heart pounding, I told them, 30 seconds to leave before you're face down and zip-tied. Karen tries waving a folder, yelling about community reclamation. I snapped back, you're not within your rights. There's a court order keeping you off my land. Then the best sound I'd heard in months, sirens. Sheriff's deputies pull up, lights flashing. Everybody freezes. Deputies ask for documents. Karen tries to bluff with those fake maps, blurry copies, half-stamped letters. Deputies aren't buying it. Then one of them picks up a radio left behind, live walkie chatter, someone instructing the team to cut the gate, dump the posts, file papers after. The deputies take everything, escort the crew off, and I hand all the footage to Caitlin. Criminal trespass conspiracy, she says. The gloves are off now. Court moves fast when you put enough pressure on the system. Caitlin files 3 motions. Contempt of court, criminal trespass, emergency judicial review of the forged map. By noon, I get a hearing date. But it doesn't end there. A G's office gets involved. Investigators show up at my door, ask for every map, deed, and radio I've got. They see through the scam in minutes. Institutional forgery, one calls it. Turns out my case isn't unique. The AG finds 3 more parcels with the same boundary restoration trick. I'm not just fighting for me anymore. Then middle of the night, I catch 4 hooded figures on my trail camera. One's carrying a gas can, others have tools. I run out, pistol at my side, catch a kid trying to cut my fence. Turns out he's Karen's nephew. His phone is full of photos of my place, GPS coordinates, group chats with other HOA board members. Caitlin pulls the thread, emails from Karen to a shady developer, scans of fake plats, talk of clearing the squatter. That's me, apparently. Soon the DA, AG, and State Law Commission are all involved. The scam unravels, dozens of landowners, many bullied into selling. Whispering Ridge's little empire collapses in court. Karen's indicted, 2 county clerks are exposed for approving fake plats, developer gets hauled in. The court dissolves the HOA. They sell off their assets to pay restitution. I get legal recognition of my property, a settlement check, and the right to finish my house with proper windows and a metal roof. You want a lesson out of all this? Here's mine. Sometimes the only way to keep what's yours is to stand up when everyone else is looking for the exit. That doesn't make you a hero, just stubborn enough not to be run off your own land. I finished that house myself. No contractors, just me and the scars on my hands. The new sign on my gate reads, "Private property, no trespassing, no excuses." But underneath, in smaller letters, "Welcome if you've come to build something." Now let me ask you, where's the line between defending what's yours and becoming just as ruthless as the people trying to take it? Ever had to fight for your home, your land, your little piece of peace? Drop your thoughts, your stories, hell, even your own battles down below. I'm curious if I'm the only one who thinks sometimes justice just needs a stubborn old firefighter with a hammer and a lot of nerve.